We got new polling numbers out for Donald Trump, and they are an unmitigated disaster. Not only are independents running screaming from Donald Trump, but now young voters 30 and under are joining them with numbers that we've never seen in history. As the American consumer and voter, look at the Trump administration and give it a failing grade. I'm Michael Popok. Let's get to the polling numbers. It is the way for us to express ourselves now. Besides the special elections and at the midterms, we got to do it with polling. And polling numbers, especially when the candidate like Donald Trump is lame duck and is not running, are all about his performance. Now, I've reported earlier that independents who once supported Donald Trump at the start of his administration, just 10 months ago or so, at the 50% level, 50% net favorability rating, are now down to 26%. If you poll the average independent, you're only going to find 26% of them that think Donald Trump is doing a good job. This was the coalition that Donald Trump stitched together, a populist coalition, in order to beat Kamala Harris and the Democrats. And they are abandoning him and heading for every exit that they can find. You've got independents down 26%, which is cut in half from his support in just 10 months. And then you've got the new polling numbers about young voters, which for some reason saw Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris and sided with Donald Trump. And those voters have now have abandoned Donald Trump by more than 56 points. Yes, you heard me right. They were at plus 10 points net favorability rating in February. Young voters are now negative 46 points against Donald Trump in net favorability rating, a 56-point drop. It was so tremendous, or huge, as Donald Trump likes to say, that it left Harry Enton at CNN laughing throughout most of his presentation of these numbers. Let's play that clip.
Harry Enton is here to tell us something we don't know. And Harry, I think it's really important what I just said there in that last sentence, from even a few months ago, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't something that happened right away or even right at tariffs or something in April, right? It's much more recent.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the word of the day, to borrow a phrase from the current president, huge, huge. I mean, just take a look at Donald Trump's net approval rating among those under the age of 30. You go back to February, it was plus 10 points. Look at this drop. I'm laughing because it's down to minus 46 points on the net approval. That is a drop of 56 points among voters under the age of 30.
Is there any historically analogous to this?
This type of drop happening so quickly is just, I spend my days in the spreadsheets. You just don't see drops like that. It's stunning.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess the question, so the drop is huge. You can have a huge drop of a small number and it can still matter, but still. But this group was actually hugely important to Trump.
Yeah, hugely important to Trump. I mean, look, he gained more with voters with Generation Z than he did with any other group from 2020 to 2024. I mean, you look at it. Look, in 2020, he got 31%.
These are what, people under 25?
This is people under 30 now. They were under 25 back in 2020. Generation Z has become the young people. Millennials like myself have aged out of those young groups.
Right, so people under 30. Okay.
Correct. And they went from 31% in 2020 to now 43%. That's a jump of 12 points in just that 4 years. And I looked at all the age groups. There was more of a jump in his support among Generation Z than any other generation. They were key for him, as you said in your intro.
Wow. But that drop, again, a 56-point swing.
Correct. That game, adios.
Okay, so that's stunning. So, and I didn't realize the magnitude of that. So as usual, Harry, you're supposed to come out and we'd say, tell me something I don't know. And you've already done that.
I know.
Can I get something else?
I'll try two little things. You're a greedy person, but it's okay. I'm here for you. Look, among those under the age of 35, younger folks, they actually have a more positive view of socialism than they do of capitalism. Look at this. 49% say have a favorable view of socialism compared to 43% of capitalism. And more than that, if you look at those under the age of 35, look at their views of capitalism over time. The net favorability, look at that. In 2010, it was plus 46 points. Look at that drop to 2025, minus 11 points. Again, that's another shift. of what? 57 points in the wrong direction for capitalism.
And yet another way of saying the economy is the single most important issue out there for people right now. This is how it shows.
Exactly right. We try different ways to show it each and every time.
All right. Thank you very much, Harry.
Huge, huge, huge. But it's no laughing matter when overall only 36% of America, and that includes a lot of MAGA, believe that Donald Trump is doing a good job as president. You start hitting 36%. And I have already made my prediction that before we get to the midterms, he's going to be hovering just above or just below 30%. You cannot win the midterms. You cannot, and anybody taking the mantle from you or your legacy from you and trying to move it forward cannot win in 2028. Now, these numbers should not be a shock to anybody. Let's look at the data underneath it. In terms of the economy, wait till you hear these numbers. According to new polling, 46% of Americans, including 37% of Trump voters, so more than 1/3 of Trump voters, and 46% of Americans believe that the cost of living right now is the worst in their lifetime. The cost of living, which Donald Trump says is a hoax, which he says affordability is a con job. That is what Americans believe is the most important issue to them. And they blame, at that same 46% level, Donald Trump, not Joe Biden, not the Democrats, for the lack of affordability in America. But to them, it is the worst in their lifetime, which has come as no surprise because the Consumer Confidence Index, people buying, is at the lowest it has ever been historically. And I know you've seen some data that said, hey, we're going to have a pretty good Christmas and holiday shopping season. It might be up 1 or 2%. I don't know about all that. I think we're going to have to wait for the final data to come out about how much pent up demand there is as people worry about how to pay for things in their grocery store shopping cart. But when you have the lowest confidence level in history, 46% of America believes this is the most unaffordable period in American history, and they blame Donald Trump for it. I don't know how you don't even have lower numbers than what we're seeing in terms of the polling. I don't know why Donald Trump's even polling at 36%. Now, remember, that's 85% of Republicans thinks he's doing a great job, and that's propping it up. Then the bottoms fell out of young voters and independents, along with Democrats, and it nets out to 36%. That's how we get there when you break down that particular number. Now, it's not just consumer confidence that's down. New numbers related to job creation that are out by ADP, the payroll service, because we don't have any accurate data coming out of the Bureau of Labor Statistics because Donald Trump shut down the government for 50 days or whatever it was. We have to rely on private sector data. And the private sector data is terrible for Donald Trump and shows that the tariffs, while they're still operating and imposing a 10 to 15% cost increase on the American consumer, while that's going on, manufacturing and the gross domestic product around manufacturing sectors of our society, the goods that we make, including agriculture, is down 9 months in a row. What was happening the last 9 months that would have caused that? Right, the Trump administration. 9 months of a contracting manufacturing base. And the new job numbers from ADP, where they have a net negative 37,000 jobs. They say in the last quarter, we lost 37,000 jobs. Didn't make jobs. Didn't make even 5,000 jobs. Net lost 37,000 jobs, primarily from small businesses. From small businesses that suffered. Some larger businesses, added a few jobs, medium-sized business added a few jobs, but the bottom fell out of the small businesses in America, leading to tremendous job loss. And who do they blame for all of that? No, they don't blame the tariffs. They just say, the economy's going to get much better. The economy's going to get much bigger. Here's Howard Lutnick, chief propagandist for Donald Trump's economic policies, talking about the tariffs are not to blame for the contracting manufacturing base, the low consumer confidence, and the fact that people can't pay for their groceries. Let's play Howard Lutnick.
We hear all the time that businesses do struggle with tariffs and the higher costs and the uncertainty that comes around that. And even if you don't think that that's happening, I mean, factory activity shrinking in November by the most in 4 months. We got a manufacturing report this week. And in that survey, they did cite tariffs as a reason. I mean, this was a sector that was supposed to be helped the most by what you're doing on the trade front.
Look, tariffs, you're overstating. The fact is, we know, because we've studied it, that prices don't move unless tariffs are above 15%. They just don't move at all, because the suppliers and the distributors eat the numbers, and that's why prices stay the same. You got inflation at the same levels, cut to below 3%. I mean, these are key numbers. You heard prices coming down, energy coming down. It's not tariffs. It's simply a matter of there's idiosyncrasies in October with the shutdown. I think you'll see that pass and things will go incredibly well next year. I think the huge amount of growth in factories, construction coming next year are going to be impressive. AI building is going to be amazing. We're going to roll out huge amounts of power. We're going to cut the price of power in America, and that's going to also drive the economy.
Yeah.
Now, Donald Trump, we thought, was doing a politically shrewd move to try to jump on the affordability bandwagon and turn some of these numbers around, because these numbers are disastrous for the Republicans and for Donald Trump. So when we saw him embracing the Democratic Socialist young mayor-elect of Manhattan, of New York, Mayor Mamdani, and talking about affordability, we're thinking, oh, that might be politically shrewd. Maybe he's trying to kind of get a little halo effect, rubbing elbows with Mamdani and showing that he's sort of cool and he's all about affordability too. In fact, after he met with Mamdani, I guess implementing the strategy, he issued something on Truth Social, a posting that said that Trump was the affordability president, except he's got a Biden problem. Nobody in America believes that. Nobody believes that they are doing better based on the economic data that the Treasury Secretary and the Commerce Secretary and the Federal Reserve and Donald Trump says you should be feeling better about yourself as they struggle to make ends meet and live paycheck to paycheck and watch friends and family members be disappeared off the streets, impacting our economy further while we attack our neighbors to the north in Canada, our neighbors to the south in Mexico, who then turn their back on us, understandably, economically, including in tourism. You got tumbleweeds running down the main strip in Vegas because of the lack of tourism right now. So when I saw this, he's going to do the Mamdani, huh? He's going to act like he's the affordability president. Nope. Comes out at a cabinet meeting, same cabinet meeting where he's like sleepy Donald Trump, he's basically nodding off. He can't even open his eyes for this orchestrated golden J-off session. Sorry, folks. You do the math. By his cabinet, where they have to go around, you'd think this was a hostage video. When you watch Howard Lutnick and Marco Rubio and the rest of them, this is the finest cabinet I've ever been a part of, the finest presidency I've ever been a part of. And he can't even stay awake for that. But he stayed awake long enough to say this about affordability after he just embraced Mamdani. Here's a clip.
There's this fake narrative that the Democrats talk about, affordability. They just say the word. It doesn't mean anything to anybody. The word affordability is a con job by the Democrats. The word affordability is a Democrat scam. They say it and then they go on to the next subject.
Now you know why young people are running screaming from Donald Trump? And I'm going to make this last point here on this hot take. He cannot, Trump nor MAGA, win national office during a general election with a base that consists solely of MAGA, whatever MAGA is supposed to be now as it implodes before our very eyes. He needed the populist wave to bring in the Christian right and bring in the independents and the women and even a higher performance with black and brown voters and independents and young voters all getting on the bandwagon. Let's make this country great, whatever it was supposed to be. And now they've all said they want their vote back. And if the elections were today, Donald Trump would lose by double digits against the Democratic challenger. No doubt. No doubt in my mind. Continue to keep the faith. Continue to live here with us on Legal AF. Take a moment, hit the free subscribe button as we push hard here, do a final push to get to 1 million subscribers before we enter 2026. It's that important. If you are a member, I thank you for it, a subscriber. If you're not, now's the time to do it. If you know other people that need to know about Legal AF, invite them and ask them to subscribe. And then come over to Legal AF Substack and do the exact same thing as we continue to kind of gird ourselves and build our organization and our audience and our fellowship before the midterms. So until my next report, Michael Popok, last day of travel. I'm back behind my home studio later today reporting. I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popok Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event, by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok Firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.